All right. Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday night Distinguished Speaker Series. This week, we are delighted that we have Shoshana Altrichter to speak with us about travel. So on behalf of the Peoria Area World Affairs Council, we are looking forward to learning about getting back to the world. Shoshana is the Vice President of Travel at the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia. They run a tremendous travel program. Many of us have participated in their tours. She has been with the travel department at the World Affairs Council for over 16 years. Prior to joining the council, she worked for the Jewish Federation in Philadelphia. Shoshana received her BS from Drexel University in film and video production with a minor in political science. She worked in the local film industry for a few years before shifting her focus to the nonprofit sector. Shoshana has traveled extensively in Europe and the Middle East, and has led many tours for the organization. Thank you for joining us, Shoshana. Take us away.
Sure, great. It's lovely to be here with you all tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope that you learn a little bit this evening. I want to preface it that, though I do work in travel and are familiar with some logistics, I'm not exactly a travel expert, so I might not be able to answer all your questions, but I'll certainly do my best. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Here we go. So this evening, I thought we would take a look at some questions, including when will travel resume, how we'll decide if it's safe to travel, what will COVID protocols be, and what if you change your mind that it's unsafe to travel. The first thing, when travel will resume, the council's going to be offering their first group tour this September to France. There was a few trips that we were looking to offer this summer, but for one reason or another, they didn't work out. The last time we had a group go out was in March 2020. So it will be quite a while, but I'm excited to have this group go out, that it will be a small group. So of course, the number one question is safety. On all our trips, we work with a tour operator, and they work with local ground operators. So they're really trusted travel partners who have years experience in the industry, and are constantly in contact with people on the ground, monitoring the situation, and making suggestions based on that. We're also taking a look at border crossing policies. For example, we had a trip planned to Slovenia for this summer, and even though Slovenia is opening back up, they just had some policies to come into the country that were just a little bit too complex, and we didn't feel it was wise to proceed with that tour. What COVID-19 protocols will be in place? Enhanced passenger communication. Of course, communication is key. Tour director training to enforce hygiene. Enhanced travel partner safety requirements, such as sanitation, and a COVID response plan. I know one of the questions that we've gotten before is, will we require vaccines for travels? And I can say, as the World Affairs Council, we're not requiring the vaccine to travel. However, many of our partners are. Some tour operators are requiring that you either show proof of a vaccination or proof of a negative COVID test up to 72 hours before departure. And as well, there might be, it's the same to enter several countries, that they'll have those requirements as well. But all that would be communicated with you well ahead in advance. So a big thing that we've been taking a look at is extended cancellation windows. We really want you to feel comfortable with your reservation, be able to change your mind. So with that said, many of our trips have in place that you can cancel up to 90 days before departure. Some of them are 60 days before departure and receive a full refund. So I said, we really want to be sure that, you feel comfortable with that. And of course, we always sell travel insurance, which we highly recommend. And with your travel insurance policy, you have the option of purchasing cancel for any reason, meaning at any point leading up to the tour, you could cancel and the insurance company would refund you up to 75% of your payment. So I pulled together a few travel tips for some of those who might be ready to go, are feeling a little apprehensive and are looking to do what's next. Number one suggestion that isn't on here would be to print out copies of everything. I've read some issues of people showing up to the airport and only having their boarding pass on the phone. And because of COVID policies, some airlines rejecting having the scanner on your phone. So I think, for the next few months, if you're planning on travel, it would be a good idea to have that. Of course, as well, to give yourself extra time at the airport. I've heard some frightening stories of extra lines through security. So I think some of the days when there were shorter lines and you can breeze right through are temporarily behind us, as a lot of people are anxious to be traveling again. A good tip I read too is to bring a scarf. The airline puts out pillows and blankets on your seat, and you might feel a little uncomfortable, a little uncertain who might have handled that. So a good thing to do is you can bring a scarf with you, and then you can wrap your pillow up in your scarf, or use a scarf and put it as another layer under your blanket. I think another good tip is not to eat your meal as soon as it arrives. If you maybe, wait a little bit, they certainly do come, nice and warm. That way, if you, save it and wait a little bit, and you can wait until some people are done and put their mask back on, and then you can take your mask off and eat your meal. Sometimes I know airlines have been packing flights again, that they're not reserving that middle seat anymore. But sometimes there are last minute cancellations. So even up until the last minute, when you get to the airport, you might want to check and see if, seats have become open that you might want to look at moving your seat. And the last tip I have is to enroll in the Smarter Travel Enrollment Program, or STEP, with the State Department. And that's a really great resource that you sign up with the State Department, and they send you any updates for a country you might be visiting. You're also enlisted with the State Department that you'll be traveling and what dates you'll be traveling. So that way, they can keep track of you if there, is some type of emergency. I welcome questions at any time. I know there are some familiar people on this event. Let's see here. I see that John Nixon sent a few questions. An excellent question about tracking risk variance and how soon do you update this before the departure. To answer that, as I said, generally around that time, 90 days before departure, that's when we're making a decision whether or not a trip will happen or not. And we're in consultation with the local ground operators. What is common and what varies among airlines in terms of mitigation policy? And that is a hard question to answer. I know for sure currently all airlines are requiring that you wear a mask on board. But aside from that, I'm not sure what other policies will be. You know, some airlines have even brought back food and beverage service, which they haven't been previously doing. I think I answered most of those questions, John. If not, let me know. Pamela asks, what plans do you have in place if a participant requires hospital care while on the trip? Special insurance coverage. That's an excellent question, Pamela, and you wouldn't need a special insurance coverage. All you would need is travel insurance. Your travel insurance would cover you if you needed to go to the hospital or had to be evacuated back to the US. Several of our travel partners are including some basic insurance for our travelers as well. So there's that comfort to have. But yeah, I would definitely, you know, as I said, we highly recommend travel insurance, that you just can't go wrong with that. So that's where I get into kind of like the next part of my presentation, talking about some of the upcoming tours where we're looking at going over the next year or so. Of course, all of you probably know Don Sanford, that he's leading our trip to Turkey. But unfortunately, that is sold out with 24 travelers. That we had a really great response. And there might even be some people on this meeting this evening who are joining Don on this tour. We have a Rhine cruise with Joyce Davis from the Harrisburg World Affairs Council, and a tour to Amalfi with Trina Medvedev from the World Affairs Council of Jacksonville. And that's what's so nice about the World Affairs Council system, is that we have these different executive directors like Angela and CEOs that have areas of expertise that they can lead the council tours and bring some of their members along.
Shoshana, can I ask?
Yes.
Are both the historic Rhine and the Amalfi Coast, are those both cruises?
Great question. The historic Rhine is a cruise. Amalfi Coast is a land tour. It's you stay in Amalfi for a week. It's unpack once, that you're in a hotel, one hotel for the whole time.
Thank you.
It seemed to be. Oh, there I see another question. Let me see here. Oh, Charles, please tell me more about the September trip to France. Yeah, it's the same, similar to the Amalfi trip. It's to Albi, which is a destination that you probably haven't been to before in France. It's unpack once, so you'll be staying in a hotel for the entire time. There's a savings discount of $250 on the trip and no single supplement. And that includes your hotel accommodations. It includes most meals. It includes most beverages with the meals. It includes all sightseeing. The highlight of any of these trips are the meet the people opportunities, where you're going to a small restaurant or a local owned farm, that you get to meet with some of the locals and really talk to them and get to learn about their experiences.
Is that trip full, Shoshana?
No, the Albi trip is not full. The only trips that are currently sold out is Turkey with Don, and then Don also has attended my Inside Washington program. If any of you have ever attended the WACA conference, it's kind of similar to that, but I'm only taking 22 travelers, and I know Don has then come on our Inside Washington program and brought some of those speakers back to Peoria. That because
Indeed.
It's just sorry.
Indeed.
Yeah, because it's this small group. You really get to interact with the speakers, which I know our travelers have really enjoyed. This was a trip, our Inside Washington, we do it every year. So this group that's finally going was scheduled to go in May 2020. We'll be going in September, and we'll also have another Inside Washington in May 2022. Oh, let me see here. Oh, great question, Shelley, bringing back the Russia cruise. Yes. We did this great trip with Angela several years ago to Russia. It's certainly something that's on my radar. It's not something I'm planning in 2022, possibly 2023, but we certainly do bring back trips in cycles. Yes, here's so some of the tours that we offer, as I mentioned, offer no single supplement. Someone asked about the France trip that I mentioned that earlier. We also have a trip to Spain and Swiss Alps and the Italian lakes. This was a tour that I was hoping to accompany the group on last summer. I'm not sure if I'll be doing it or not in 2022, but it's a really great trip. I did part of it before to the Italian lakes, but haven't been to Switzerland. So I was looking forward to that. Another highlighter tour is exclusive land tours. So these are a few examples that offering the combination of domestic and international. We have a tour to Gettysburg. Morocco is one of our always popular trips. And the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia, we've been focusing on a country and highlighting that throughout all our programs, through our speaker programs, our education programs. And so we'll have a travel program. So we'll have a trip there in March 2022. And the last thing is the option for a small ship cruise, offering the Galapagos, River's Life along the Dutch waterways. I've done that trip before, and that's absolutely fabulous to go see the tulips, and Scottish Isles and the Norwegian fjords. Will actually be with Lisa Faskow from World Affairs Council of Alaska, that she's the honorary consul in Alaska to Norway. So all our trips are on our website. I have the website listed here. I also, we've recently posted on our website a facts page where we kind of go and give you some information specifically regarding COVID. What can you expect on the tour? What different tour operator policies there might be, that we really want you to have an informed decision before signing up for a trip that we know that certainly some of you might be reluctant to get out there again. So if anyone has any other questions, I welcome them.
I was typing faster. I was typing slower than I can speak. But I was just typing in the question, what makes the tours with Philadelphia so special? Because, you know, just on the surface, when people look at the brochures that come, they're a little expensive. But are they really more expensive? What do you get for that value?
Yeah,
what value do you get for that price?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Angela. Several of our tours tend to be exclusive to World Affairs Council travelers. And like all of you this evening, our World Affairs Council travelers are really engaged and interested in learning about the world. For example, when Don takes a group to Turkey, we'll be taking them to the consulate and meeting with the consul general. That's definitely always a highlight on our trips. You know, we offer briefings with some journalists that, you know, we try to get you beyond the traditional sightseeing and really come away with a sense of learning and understanding and in some cases, even, lasting friendships.
Very good. And I'll throw in for the tours that I have participated in, either as a tourist or as a leader, the lectures along the way, in the down times when you're traveling between cities or what have you, the opportunity to learn from somebody who has inside information, an expert of any sort, is more unique to the World Affairs Council trips than it is to any other trip I've been on. Shelley does ask about masks on buses or other places. What do you think about that?
Yes, Shelley. So today, to my knowledge, mask will be required on buses. I haven't looked up what the COVID restrictions are in different cities in Europe. I think that a lot of cities in Europe have dropped their mask requirement, as we're starting to see here in the US. But that's definitely information that would be sent to you ahead of time. And again, things are changing so rapidly that, what might be a policy today, certainly, 3 to 6 months from now can be totally different.
So if you have trips that have no single supplement, how do people sign up for them? How do people sign up for any of your trips? Is this the appropriate address to go to find information?
Yeah, all our trips are on our website, and even I'm pretty sure all of them even have a book now button that, working from home and closing down the office in COVID certainly presented its challenges with trying to take reservations. And I think we came up with the solution of this Book Now button, that it's sent to a secure website that, I go in and only I handle the information. And in many cases, I'm only collecting your address or your contact information, and the tour operator follows up with you within 24 hours to collect your credit card information. Again, to be more secure and just have that one process.
Do you have plans for destinations in Africa? You've got a nice picture of a safari here. Do you have plans for tours that will go to Africa?
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a little taste in this presentation of some of our trips. Yeah, we go to almost every continent. We have 3 trips to Africa. Well, it'd actually probably be more than that. We have a trip to Egypt. We have the trip to Morocco, and we're offering South Africa, as well as 2 trips to Tanzania. Something new that we're offering in 2022 is family trips. So we have our one standard trip to Tanzania in March that's been really popular. And new for the summer of 2022 will be a family-oriented trip. And something really cool for the kids is for any children that sign up on that trip, they'll actually get a pen pal in Tanzania that they can correspond with ahead of the tour. And then when they go to Tanzania, they'll be able to meet with a pen pal. And, when I heard about that, I just felt like that was just such an amazing, unique offering to have that experience, with someone in your family.
That will be really neat.
Yeah.
So another question is there any place you would not recommend people travel until at least 2022?
I would say India right now. That's probably high on the list, and we have no plans to travel there until the fall of 2022. In South America, I think they have some pretty high cases as well, that they're really trying to combat that. So, I might not jump on a plane and go to like Brazil right now, for example. But but I know that everyone's trying really hard to get the vaccine out there, and of course the president announced that he's going to start shipping vaccines worldwide. So I think we will start seeing some of those cases drop.
Terrific. And Seth answered a question. I believe he is correct that there has to be a negative COVID test when you come home to the United States.
Yes.
Before you can enter.
Yeah. So currently there is that restriction that you do need a negative COVID test before returning to the US. I have a feeling, Angela and I were chatting a little bit at the beginning, and I have a feeling that the US is going to change their policy very soon. Just that the president is currently traveling abroad. And I think for some of the goodwill that he might drop some of the restrictions to travel into the United States. There is a take-home test that you can, order online and you can get mailed to you. They are pretty expensive. I think it's roughly, I want to say, between $100 to $150 for those take-home tests. But certainly as part of the trip, because we know these requirements are in place, the tour operator would arrange for everyone to have a test taken before they fly home. So that would be, taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're doing, additional sightseeing, someone asked a pre or post trip, if you're doing something on your own, that would then, be something that you might have to take care of by yourself. So it would just be something that you're mindful of. But as I understand it, almost everyone in the world, similar to what we're experiencing here in the US, that it's relatively easy to get a test before you fly home. And I hope, Charles, that touched a little bit on your question, that yes, travelers certainly can arrange pre or post trips. Some of our trips do have pre or post options built into them. Many of the cruises do. For example, let's see, like Egypt has a post trip to Jordan. So there are some opportunities on some of the trips for additional sightseeing.
And yeah, Mary Jo answered a question here just a second. She said, just FYI, her trip to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary was canceled. It was a scheduled departure of August 20.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing, Mary Jo, is that we were hoping to have some groups to Europe. There's some countries that are kind of dragging their feet, saying what their protocols are. There's some countries that, just have really strict protocols that you just have to go, cut through all kinds of red tape to be able to travel. So I know I hear all the time how eager people are to get back out there, and it's coming, and it's coming very soon. But for some destinations, the summer is probably, unfortunately, going to be a little too soon.
If some of those countries have remaining quarantine periods, is that part of the reason why tour companies would cancel their trips?
That very well may be the case. I haven't been, I must admit, I haven't been staying up to date with, each country and what their different protocols are. But certainly, if you're traveling for a 2-week trip and 10 of those days have to be spent in quarantine, it just makes it too much of a challenge.
I'll share with the audience that a friend of mine works for a company and travels back and forth to China. And he just has taken his first trip where he spent 14 days in a state quarantine and then another 10 days in his home quarantine before he could even go to work. So that's 24 days before he can even be free. And of course, they track that on your phone. So no skipping the queue or jumping the requirements in China. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add a note that I did look up some things ahead of this, and Angela and I were also chatting a little bit about airline safety ahead of this. And I just pulled up an article by a doctor. He's a professor of pathology at the University of Southern California School of Medicine. And he did an interview, and he actually suggested in the interview that he felt that flying was safer than driving. Just that the airlines have really, stepped up to update, some of their cleaning protocols compared to when you're driving. You may need to get out of the car to get gas, to stop and get food, to, use the rest stop, where you're coming into interaction with a lot more variance of people compared to like a controlled environment on the airplane.
Yeah. I was just typing. If you've got any other questions, please submit them now. Otherwise, we will wrap up tonight. So, or unmute yourself and ask if you're more comfortable doing that. But this is an exciting time. I hope that we can, in fact, begin to get back and visit the world, and that the world comes to us as well. So as a member of a faculty at Bradley University, we always worry about our students. So leaving, it's not travel for fun, but for some students, for example, leaving in May to go back home, there's actually a number of students who could not. Their home countries would not accept them. And so many of them were trying to make quick trips to Chicago or DC to their closest embassies so that they could extend their visa. Because they can't just stay. they have to legally have that permission to just stay. And so the same problem will arise when it's time for them to come back to campus in the fall. So travel is a broad category, not just those of us who want to do it for fun and pleasure, but for those who do it for work and or study. So it's a lot to be excited about, but still slow and a little bit of cautious. So
yes, yeah, you exactly summed it up. Thank you so much. Yeah, see, I'm happy to ask one last question. Does it make sense to take grandchildren under 12 to Greece? And that's an excellent question. That's one I don't have the answer to. That I'm not sure. I know Greece is open as a destination, but I'm not sure. What their requirements might be for someone who's not to be vaccinated. I would suspect it would be that you probably have to arrive with a negative COVID test within, 72 hours of your flight. But I'm hearing good things too, that kind of like now is the time to travel, that there might be some people who are a little apprehensive. It's not fully back yet, so that now, is the time to go and kind of have some destinations almost to yourself before, people really start getting back out there again.
And I understand that vaccinations are being considered for 5 to 12-year-olds. So before you go to Greece, it just might be possible to have your grandchildren vaccinated. Then you could feel a lot more comfortable.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Shoshana. This has been very informative, and you have some terrific programs coming up. So on behalf of the Peoria Area World Affairs Council to the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia, thank you for joining us this evening and giving us so many good tips and for sharing your programs with us. With that, I will close it out. Tomorrow we have a program on Russia. Yours truly is going to talk about what to expect at the Biden-Putin summit next week. And then you can tell next week whether I was close or not. So tomorrow at 11 for World Affairs Fridays. Otherwise, if you are unable to join us tomorrow, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Shoshana.
Thank you so much. This was fun. I appreciate the time. Everyone enjoy this beautiful evening that I understand you're having. So thank you so much.
Shoshana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela and Shoshana.